If you guys want to check out everything I've had to fix and everything that's broken in our RV after 3 years, stick around. We got a lot to get to. Now, I do travel with a spare leaf spring. We had a Schwintek motor up in this corner that died on us. It's a nightmare, it's not an easy job. Hey everybody, welcome back to Why Wait. Today, I want to take you through 3 years of full-time RV living and everything that we have broke or has been broken inside and outside of our RV. Now, we've been full-time RV living in a Grand Design 377 MBS for 3 years now with our little boy and our 2 dogs, and we've put thousands of miles traveling around the country in this camper. So things are gonna break. We love Grand Design. I think this camper is high quality. This RV has been great to us, but hey, things still happen. So we're gonna run down real quick. We're not gonna spend too much time on each one of these. I'm just gonna go through, show you what's broke, maybe touch base on how I fixed it real quick, and we're just gonna knock it out, and hopefully this video can help you guys out if you have any of these problems. And along the way, I'll probably reference some of the repairs and projects to other videos I've done in the past. So let's go hit it. So I thought I'd start with our scariest moment, and that would be the RV awning when it broke. And it didn't just break while we were sitting at a campground. It's not like we had it out and the winds were high, or we forgot to put it back in and it rained and it broke. We were actually about 5 days into traveling. We hadn't even used it in those 5 days. And for some reason, on the very last day, right before we got to our campground, we were going over a bridge, and all of a sudden it just popped out. The wind caught it, it ripped all of the bolts out, flipped the whole thing up on top of the camper. And now Megan was actually following me at the time in our car. Thank goodness it did not fly off. It had one bolt left holding it on, keeping it from flying off the back of the RV and you know, possibly killing somebody or hitting a car. I was able to get over the bridge, get the last bolt off. And so that awning right there is actually new. It was covered under insurance, and it actually took like a team of 4 guys to install the whole thing and get it back on there. So that was probably our scariest moment and maybe one of our biggest RV malfunctions or breaks. But now we have the new one on there. It seems to be doing good, but I do put some zip ties around the arms nowadays when we travel, just in case that ever happens again. So something to keep an eye out for. Okay, next on the list, you're probably thinking tires, right? Blowout. Now, we've actually been really lucky with our tires, or maybe it's just all the maintenance I do in preventive maintenance. I have a whole video on RV tire safety, from the proper tire inflation levels and how to accurately find that, just how to do your bearings and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really anal about taking care of tires and tire safety, so we have had no issues there. But we did actually have an axle break. The spindle broke one time, and I'll put a link to that video up and how that all played out. But that was not a fun one, and that was maybe only the second time that I didn't repair something myself, and we had to get a whole new spindle welded on, and that was quite a day. It delayed us our plans and everything, but everybody was safe. So go check out that video if you want to see how that happened. So that was a big one. The spindle broke, and that brings us to leaf springs. I did have a leaf spring break on me one time. I do carry spare leaf springs with me. Now, I do travel with a spare leaf spring. So at least I always have one leaf spring in case this happens. So this is gonna come in handy, because before I started this life, I saw that a lot of people had broken leaf springs, and I thought it was a good idea to always have an extra set on hand with me. And that did come into play one time. We broke a leaf spring. I had the leaf spring. I was able to right there on the road get the tire off, get the new leaf spring put on. So that's something you may always want to look into. Find your size leaf spring. It doesn't hurt to carry an extra leaf spring or 2 with you on the road. If anything, even if you can't install it yourself, at least you have the part for when it happens. And if a roadside repair guy comes, or if you have to get it towed somewhere or whatever, at least you have your leaf spring and you're not waiting a day or 2 if you have a odd specific size leaf spring. While we're still outside, touch base, we had a gray tank clog up one time, which was really odd. Our kitchen gray tank was clogged. It wouldn't drain. We thought maybe it was a broken handle. I went through and eventually had to drop my underbelly over here, and I had to disconnect the gate valve where the valve opens up the gray tank, and we got inside there, and I actually had just a bunch of gunk in there that had slowed it down. You know, We cleaned that out and it wasn't too big of a deal. It was kind of a mess. At least it wasn't the black tank. But knowing where your gray and black tanks are at, knowing where the gate valves are at, getting under your underbelly, kind of looking around, that's definitely going to come in handy, because eventually you're going to have a leak in one of those. You're going to have to replace one of those. You're going to have to change one of the gate valves or something. So that's just part of RV living. So remember me telling you about when the awning flew off and came up on top of the camper? Luckily, it didn't damage too much, but one thing it did break was the shower skylight. So the whole awning tube and everything came up on top of here, and it landed right on top of our skylight here and cracked this. This was an easy replacement. We took the old one off. You have to remove the caulk, got the new one on, you screw it down, you recaulk it, and we were good to go on that. While we're on the roof, here's a little patch job we did with some Eternabond tape. I think we hit a little tree branch and made just a small hole right here. This stuff is a lifesaver. We talk about this stuff in our 20 essential RV items, and I'll put a link to that right here. Definitely carry a roll or two of that around, because it is awesome, awesome stuff. On the back of the RV here, we've had this LED taillight strip go out, and that was a pretty easy fix as well. And I have a whole video on that one on how to take these covers off, how to replace it, how to rewire it. So I'll just put a link to that one up if you're curious or ever need to do that job. Brings us to the bathroom. Had a few little minor repairs in here. One of them was we had to replace the motor and our fan. So when the motor crapped out on this one, we just simply purchased a new one on Amazon. A little bit bigger motor and a little bit bigger fan blade, so it's a nice little upgrade. It seems to pull more air now when you turn it on. And you just simply have to install it up there, rewire it. It's not a hard job. And here's the link right here to the one we got, and been happy with it. So we had a leak in our basement one time and it tracked the water. It was back up in this hole. This is the plumbing for the shower. And as you can see, there's a vacuum breaker check valve, and that's for our black flush. It turns out the old check valve just stopped working. I ordered a new one. You can see the new one right here. I had to put it in. It was a little hard to work in the space and get it installed. But again, not a crazy fix. These things do go bad over time. And this new one that I replaced it with, it definitely seems to be better and a little higher quality. No issues with this new one. We've had it in here almost 3 years, and we do keep water alarms down in the basement just in case it ever does start leaking again. We'll be notified. In the bedroom here, we do have a stackable washer dryer unit, and on the dryer, it stopped drying one time. It would work, but there was no heat. So I had to get in behind here, which is basically impossible. You have to take off the whole door. You have to remove all the trim just to pull the dryer out and try to get back in there. It's actually a nightmare. It turned out the thermostat on it was wrong. I tested one of the thermostats. I was able to order that online, fix it, get it back in there. But it is definitely a pain in the butt anytime you have to work with the washer and dryer in these tight closets. But overall, it was an easy fix once we got the dryer out of that spot. While we're in the bedroom, I'll talk about something that was not an easy fix, and that was our slide out. We had a Schwintek motor up in this corner that died on us, and I have a whole video on how to test that, replace it, get your slide in. It's a nightmare. It's not an easy job, but you can save a lot of money by doing it yourself. The link to that video is right up here. If you ever notice your Schwintek slide is starting to get a little sluggish or slow, it could be one of your motors going bad. That's what happened to us. So keep an eye out for that, and definitely recommend going to check out that video, bookmark it for a rainy day for when it does happen, because from what I understand, it does happen quite a bit. We've actually had a few of these sockets sort of crack and break on us. You can just take this plate off, and you can see it's cracked right here. And these are just cut really bad. It's just a really bad hole that's cut, and we were actually running out of real estate to even screw this in. I was able to get a screw down in here, hold it in. There's usually two little knobs that you can actually turn. They kind of go behind the wall, and that's what kind of holds this in place. And, you know, managed to salvage that one. I've actually replaced 2 other ones, but they are kind of cheap, but that's the best we could do with that. Now, so far, knock on wood, all of our appliances have been great. Fridge, stove, oven, water heater, furnace. We haven't had any problems with any of those. Only thing electronically we've had to replace was the TV that came with the camper. Eventually, the screen just kind of crapped out. So that was a simple, quick fix. We just went and bought a better quality TV, and it's been great ever since we've had it in there. Another simple fix that we had to do was with our fireplace. All that happened for us was it stopped lighting up, and we just had to pull it out, a couple screws. You can pull this whole unit out, replace the bulbs in behind it. Same way as if it stops producing heat, you can just switch out the heating element up here as well. Usually an easy fix. Now, the heat button on our love seat stopped working. All the rest of them do work. The heat wasn't something we were going to use anyway, so it's actually something we haven't fixed, and we just kind of left it as is, no big deal. So down here in our cabinets on the bottom shelf here, this whole bottom shelf was just flimsily put in here and was falling down from the weight of just a couple simple pots and pans. So we had to go in, pop this out, put some new wood in there, some new screws, and we just reinforced this whole piece all the way down along here. And another easy fix, but we've noticed that a lot of just, you know, little cabinets and things like that got to be fixed. Some of the drawers have had to be fixed. In fact, this drawer had to be fixed. Now, this one was our fault. This drawer came loose while we were traveling, and as we pushed this slide back out, it grabbed the drawer and kind of crushed it, but I was able to put it all back together. And yeah, always check before you put your slide out. So this is our bunk room sliding door right here, and this actually used to have a mirror on it, but one time we put the dogs in this room and they kept pushing on the door. They eventually broke the mirror, so we took the mirror out, and I just went ahead and bought some wood. I stained it and we glued it back in and replaced it with this easy fix, and we actually like it better than the mirror anyways. One thing we don't seem to have too much of an issue with is all the trim. I know a lot of people going on the road, they talk about the trim falling apart, this and that. We've only had a few pieces, mostly actually just down here on the floor, and we've had a few of these kind of come loose. And simple fix, just go out and get yourself a brad nailer and just nail those right back into place. And that's something you're going to want to have on hand anyways, because in an RV, a lot of trim and little things are going to need the small little nails or even a small little staple gun to fix them. One slight issue we had with the air conditioning in the bedroom, we came home one day and there was a puddle of water on the bed. Water was dripping out of here, and it's exactly what I thought it was. I removed the cover. It's 4 bolts that hold your AC onto the roof, and over time they can just kind of loosen up. You can actually, right from inside here, remove this, and you can tighten the bolts. That sucks the unit down. There's like a foam gasket that seals the AC unit down to your roof, and those just had to be tightened a little bit. Didn't have any issues with that ever since. Now, we also had an issue with the AC unit a year or so ago in the living room not working anymore. The fan would run, it wasn't blowing cold air. We thought maybe it was a compressor. Turns out we got inside there and it was actually just the control board inside there. I was able just to pop that out, replace the whole unit. It was like maybe 60 bucks on Amazon. And I'll put a link to that down as well. I think I talk about it in our AC maintenance video and put a link up to that video. And just, you know, check with your style AC if you're having that issue. Usually you can just replace those power control boards, and that's more likely going to be like a relay switch, and that's to fix your problem. So one thing we've had fall when we've been traveling is one of these cabinet doors came off. This is the back of the RV, and this is where the most bounce is going to be at, so that kind of makes sense. And we were just able to kind of screw that back into place. I actually want to get some wood putty to actually put in here and make it a little bit tighter, but that's really one of the only few things we've had fall apart just from the bounce and traveling. So that's it, guys. That's everything that has been broken, needed fixing, falling apart. 3 years of full-time RV living in our Grand Design Solitude. Overall, I've been really happy with the company. I thought a lot more things were going to break and need fixing from all the horror stories I saw before we started this lifestyle, but been really impressed with the company. Again, we try not to call it RV techs. I try to fix everything I can, do a little bit of research, take care of the problems, and it's worked out pretty good for us. So as always, guys, appreciate you stopping by, checking out our channel, and don't forget, get out there, start your full-time RV adventure, because why wait? We'll see you next time.